healing retreats. She's like, oh, I've been really thinking about hosting healing retreats too. And then
Hmm.
she talked, because she's in Canada as well, right? She's over in Ontario somewhere. And so she's like, yeah, I really want to come out to Western Canada. I was thinking Alberta or BC. And I'm like, well, being an Alberta girl, I'll tell you, come to BC.
Yeah.
And Brandon actually found like a property, an island, a small island off of Vancouver Island that's actually for sale right now, like, or at least one property. I don't know, like, because it looks like it might only be like a 2 acre like island, so it might even be the whole island for sale for
Yeah.
$177,000
Holy
Canadian.
shit.
So I was talking to Lynn about it. She was like, "Oh my God, like that would be amazing." And I'm like, "Right, like let's do this." And we both were like tingling all over. I was like, "Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like it might be in alignment for us both." So,
That's so
um,
amazing.
right. And then today has been like interesting because we had to buy tires for the car, which was 300, and then the alignment and getting the tires put on is like another 253. And we need gas and we need this, right? So the days total of like money out is like $600, and I haven't made that today. So, um, yeah, it's like it was like a really interesting like feeling of it going out, and I'm like, no, you know what? I'm not going to stress over this. I read the energy, and I'm like, okay, is there any anxiety to this? And I was like, okay, there's a little bit, right? Let's clear that. It's okay. If I've got things coming up and money coming in, I'm like, it's all good. Everything is coming. But it was really interesting because I was like, this will be a really good test on like how how the shifting and moving the energy on that kind of stuff is going, because I haven't had to put out like that much. Like we've been putting out $100 here, $100 there, and stuff on the car. Like we've already, and that's the other thing. Like every time we put a little bit of money into the car, it ends up and being like a huge investment into the car. Like
Yeah.
we never get away with like $100 here and $100 there. Like this month alone, it was first off it was 300, and now we're up another three, four, five, almost 600. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so almost another $1,000 went into this car, and investing into this car. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, I can breathe. I can swallow this. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's the first time I actually had to like touch the savings, which is fine. It's gonna go back in. Like, I do actually have like money coming in because we did skip the dishes last weekend, and we're working. And then that's the money that I replace all the money that we spend with, is that money. And then plus I have paid readings coming, which is nice. And so yeah, like I mean, it is I'm seeing this shift where before it
Mhm.
would start like the money would like start to like flow out but not in, whereas like I'm seeing that actual shift now of the money like shifting in. But man, have I ever been down some rabbit holes with those quantum videos?
Oh my God, I know I've been doing it too because I started with like just the first two, the one Rustin shared. And then obviously, if you watch somebody's YouTube, it's going to suggest to you the next one, right? We do that
Mm.
and so I was like, oh, let's just see it. But I really wanted to, because like what Yugi talks is about like not constant, like just, flashing from here to there. And I was like, okay, I'm really just going to stick on these two. So each day I would literally listen and intently, not like while I was doing something else, but like I would intently listen to those two. But then I saw another one. I'm like, ooh, because I feel like there's a little bit, because they all pretty much say the same thing, but in a
Yes.
different way, right? And then sometimes there'll be that one sentence that you're like, oh my God, right? Like that's how, because we were doing some stuff this morning in the car, and I was like, hey, let's listen to the one that Laura sent me last night. And so he's like, okay. And then we literally like pulled into the parking lot at Target, and he was like, oh my God, I don't remember the sentence that it was. But he goes, as I heard that, I literally felt
Shift.
like the ease and flow. Like I literally felt it, not just,
And
and
that's
I
why
was
I
like,
was like,
exactly.
I'm like, you guys, I'm like, you have to let Rustin listen to this one. And
Yeah.
I don't know why I even said that. It was just instantly in my head. I was like, Rustin needs to hear this.
Yeah.
And because it shifted, it did the same thing to me. Like I was
Yep.
instantly, and like I said today, like waking up, I'm in very human, like having to do very human things. Like
Hmm.
and stuff like that. Like it's easy to stay in the energy when you're in the forest,
Yeah.
and but and you're not doing like the thing like putting out, investing and needing to invest that much money into something. and stuff like that. So it's very easy to shift out of the energy. So that's been one of the biggest things today, because that's the one question that that video asked, like, what are you going to do
Yeah.
tomorrow? You know, what's that next thing that you're going to do to keep you in the energy? And I'm just like, and I'm going to racking my head yesterday, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to end up doing that's going to, you know, where I'm actually going to have to step up and actually hold, you know, make sure that my, you know, that I'm setting the intentions, and that, you know, and then as I'm like looking at the prices of everything that we're doing today, and I'm just like, I found
Yep.
it.
Yep. And the other thing too, like they talk about is like it's so because I feel like when you get in a manifestation, it's a lot of like do, right? And there's obviously action to be taken, right? Like we can't sit at home, like nobody's gonna come to our door and be like, hey, here's, you know, thousands of dollars. But like
You know, I
it's a
disagree.
no,
I honestly, I actually
hey,
disagree with that one.
I mean that right, but I mean typically like we have to have a vessel of some sort of business, something, right? But I'm saying like
That's
it's
the human belief though. Like if you're really stepping into the actual energy of this, and this is why it makes me
yeah,
giggle, because I see where Yuki's coming from, but I also catch him in the human experience. Because like when you go deep into this stuff, you don't need a vessel. If you believe it. It's like somebody winning
mm,
the, like Neville Goddard, I think it was, one of them won the lottery like 7 times. And each time he knew he was going to win the lottery. He never had to do anything
yeah.
except for sit in the
I
energy
mean
of
that's
winning the lottery.
Yeah, that's true. There is a girl on, I haven't seen her, but I've only heard about her on, I don't know if it's YouTube or TikTok or one of the things, and it's called Lucky Girl Syndrome. She literally just believed that she was lucky every day. She's like, I'm lucky, I'm lucky. And so like stuff would just come to her. But I just mean that in terms of like, because you're right. In terms of like those subtle moments, it's not like I have to
Yeah,
go out and get a this and I have to da da. And even like in terms of your rituals and like your routines and stuff that we have, you know, it's like it's in those little moments, like you said, when they're like,
yeah,
okay, the bill's 300. And so you going inside, right?
yeah.
You going, okay, and then breathing. Like I literally wrote down the three, was it three? Yeah, three of
Three.
like the phrases that he says.
Are
Well,
we back to three?
it's AI generated, but you know what I mean,
Yeah.
voice. And so like literally I dropped down into those moments because we had one earlier at the store and I'm like, okay, or I think about, you know, whatever and the how. And then I literally drop down into that moment. Okay, right. And I keep saying the phrases over and over and over. And that's the little bitty things that make the difference because
That's right.
it is all about the not emotional regulation and the fact we need to do tapping and all that stuff all the time, but like um making that shift. And I love that he
Yeah.
mentions Dr. Joe Dispenza because I'm a huge fan. And I believe all of his work and everything like that. So it's really yeah, it's just really important. And I felt for the first time you know, the feeling of it is done. And I'd been in that energy of it is done for like a year. And I'd say it
But
all the time. I'd be like, it's done. But
yeah,
never the energy of it, just like this, the intention versus say it, oh, I intend to do this. Yeah, right. Like, you know what I mean? Or like I'd
yeah,
go, yep, it's done. Bleh, you know?
yeah. And then and that's exactly like it's really interesting because well, I've sent you some of the stuff that, like, you know, in my chats with Chat GPT. And my most recent like conversation was like, you know, because that remembering, like that
Mhm.
remembering struck a chord. And like, you know, and I believe that you have to get into alignment, but the alignment is like the ultimate, you know. Oh my goodness, hold on. This is funny. Check this out.
Is it a bear?
No, not a bear.
Oh my God. I wouldn't say even better, but oh my God. I love
Right?
bear too.
I'm like that. And oh, here we got.
Oh, it's so precious. Another one?
Yeah, he's
Oh
just
yeah,
peeking
but
around the truck
oh
there.
yeah.
He's a
Oh my
little. He's a
God.
little. Look at how little he is.
Or
They're
her.
both actually really young. Yeah, I can't
Oh
tell if
my
they're
God,
boys or
how
girls
sweet.
with. I think they might be girls actually. I don't see any I don't see any genitalia.
I was like, how can you tell? Oh, is it the same as cats?
Yeah, I
Oh
think so. Or dogs even. I'm not really sure, but I know
that
like,
is so precious. Okay, if another one comes by and it's three, I'm
oh,
gonna like
there it is. Oh, we
stop.
got four. Now we're on four though.
Okay, four. All right.
Yeah, we got four deer. Oh,
Wow.
here's five.
Oh my gosh, look at them.
Right?
Like a whole
Oh, six.
family. Oh my
Still going.
God.
Now we're back into multiples of three.
Wow. Yep. 3 and 3 is 6. Jeez.
Like no freaking way.
Wow. Like I've seen, you know what I mean? Like I've seen, deer, but not like that close. They're usually off in a field far away. And so I get my binoculars or whatever.
Well, there
That
was
is so
one day I went out to go to the bathroom, I think. No, I went to go into our car for something and I was wearing a headlamp and the cat like took off running and I was like, "Oh my God." And the way the deer had kind of come up behind my tent, it looked like a coyote. So it like moved just really, really interestingly like it was, but it must have been laying down. Like I must have woke it up. And and the way it's they like push themselves up looks like a coyote kind of skulking, at least at night with the just being able to see the eyes. And I shout at Brandon, I'm like, eyes. And I'm trying to get the cats into the car, and I'm like, oh, don't be a coyote. Don't be a coyote in here. He comes out naked, and I'm like, what are you gonna like? And nothing in his hands. And I'm just like, are you serious right now?
wow.
Well, what if it was something really actually scary?
Yeah.
I'm like, we've experienced this before. You got to come out with some protection. Like,
Yeah.
what are you
Yeah.
gonna do naked with nothing? But thankfully it was just a deer.
Oh, it was
But
under the
yeah.
car?
No, it was behind my tent. My cat went under the car, but when
Oh,
I looked,
okay.
I
Okay.
went to grab her, but she went between my legs and under
Oh,
the
gotcha.
car,
Gotcha.
and then the animal was coming up like from behind my tent,
Oh,
and yeah, but it was just a deer, and I scared it more than it scared me. But at the initial like moment, yeah,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh no, what
Oh,
was that? Because I mean, I've come out to bears, I've come out to elk, I've yeah, and all like the most recent has been the black bears that we had to scare away, but
oh my
um.
gosh.
Yeah, it's really interesting living out in an area like I mean in Alberta where I lived, we never had wild animals come through. We didn't get to see we got to see a lot of deer, I suppose, on our travels, buffalo and whatever, depending on if we were going to my grandparents' place and stuff. But like really like out where we lived, like there was no bears, there was no
Yeah.
like wild cats, there was none of that, and I've experienced all of that since moving to BC in so many ways.
Mhm.
Cougars and bobcats and lynx and uh like say elk and grizzlies and brown bears and black bears, tons of black bears. Black bears I'm not scared of anymore, like at all. I used to have like a slight fear of them, but they don't want to mingle with you as much as you don't want to mingle with them. So, but
Yeah.
we had a mama and cubs that just stayed on our property. We're just always there. So, we didn't just get in each other's way. We just kind of let each other
Yeah.
be and we're like,
Yeah.
cool. As long as she stayed out of the garbage, I was good.
Wow. I love that so much. That's so cool. That's
Yeah.
so
Oh, that was distraction noodle and a half, but I couldn't resist. Like that, I've never like the last time I was sitting in the yard, like I recorded, I think it was a TikTok. The last time we were here, not that long ago, and the deers were sitting behind me in the bushes, and I caught a glimpse of them. So I was like, well, I started this TikTok, and here's
yeah.
probably the same group of deer actually.
That is so
And,
cool.
but they were definitely were not as close. Like when I like looked, and he's like, oh, yeah, right in front of the car. I'm like, oh goodness.
Wow. No, of course you have to. And that's that kind of candid, like authenticity, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's this yes, we're here discussing, stuff that can really change lives, but at the same time, it doesn't it's like there's still that 3D reality around you, which is why, you know, the talks help and they can help shift the energy because as we are, sitting in our own energy and, and embracing like the changes and the shifts as they come. Because had I seen these like and I look back at like how this process started and for me and I look at the superconscious recode, which is loosely based on all of like the connection to our higher self, the quantum shifts, the neuroscience behind our brains, as well as like the timeline therapy and the NLP. Like it's loosely based around basically putting all of those ideas together and just kind of going straight to our higher selves and it actually begins that process of embodiment, but I started there, but I
Mhm.
couldn't stay in that vibration of that. Like that was where my shift came to bring me to tell me that, yeah, you know what, your life isn't over yet. Like you still have stuff to do.
Yeah.
But then it was like I had to go to the beginning, you know, and start. Like had I listened to these quantum videos back then, I thought I knew what embodiment was. I thought I was doing everything that I needed to just embody and to be in that next level
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But there's still a lot of shifts. Like our minds are seriously programmed to doubt and disbelieve. And that was the other thing actually in listening to that quantum video yesterday. It was really interesting because before even listening to them, this is a lot of the stuff that me and Chat GBT chatted about actually.
Yeah.
Um, but not talking about it in the terms of quantum science, but actually just in the terms of remembering and what that looks like, how, and the attentions that it gave me and the things to say are coming up in this quantum video. Everything that I've been planning for my next program is coming up into this from like a lot of the information, similar information is coming up through these quantum videos. And I'm just like, this is so bizarre, like absolutely wild. You know, I
Yeah.
was like, I love that. I love like I'm like you instantly pop into my head like this is wild.
Yep.
And so yeah, it's been like really interesting. I actually when we got picked up by his brother, I like looked at the time and I contemplated back and forth about like indulging in the next one that's caught my eye. And I'm like, no, I'll wait until after because like I've already I mean and like you, I've been listening to the same one like consistently because like Napoleon Hill says, like if you're in you know, when you were in school, they didn't just give you a math equation and expect you to know it right now. You
Yeah.
know, it's repetitive. It takes it's like habits are repetitive. Everything that we do is repetitive. So as you start to remember and as things start to really settle in and that you can recall them in your memory, that is how your shifts start to take place. And
Yeah.
that's why, like in designing the program, it's like very basic stuff. It's all just like it's stuff that isn't going to. I at some point thought it wasn't going to trigger, you know, like any like major resistance responses. But then after what happened over the weekend, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to put up, you know, and I'm gonna do another video and put it into my mindset one be to be like, okay, you know, and I know I talked about it, I think in module 3 or 4 about how the resistance can come up. Like if you start feeling stuck, if things start feeling really
Mm-hmm.
heavy, you know, just keep repeating the first 4 modules before continuing until you feel comfortable to step into the next ones. But I think I'm still going to add another video just about like mindset and resistance and why it happens because it's
Yeah.
literally because your ego, your cellular memory, everything that's kind of ran you up until, you know, you get that calling to step out of, you know, the 3D reality and to find your purpose and to align and to start doing, you know, even if it's just for yourself, like even if you're not going to be you know, like a purpose worker or whatever, you know, like if you're not going to get into purpose work, you know, just being able to get through life with flow and ease, having the information can be very helpful. So, you know, like I really designed the program like with that in mind that I don't want to trigger anybody. Like this is kind of just like a guidance. Like if you get to the end of it and you're like, I need to go further, or maybe that shift happens that makes you ultimately happy in your life. And you know, you're good with that and you stop there and you know, just show up the odd time to get another reading and make sure you're still in alignment or whatever. Like, you know, like that's
Mm-hmm.
really how my intention was set moving forward for the people that want to continue. It's like stepping into that full embodiment, that remembering, and again, even just further into that knowing how to continually create exactly what you want to create in pretty much real time. And so I mean, and I know, and it's interesting because as I say that, like in recognizing that it hasn't, you know, technically I'm watching a lot of the stuff that I've created. Like I said, the dreams that have come true, the premonitions, the like there's been some big freaking things that have happened that I'm like, okay, I'm creating in real time. Like I said that like
Yep.
an hour or two ago, and oh, here's my answer. You know, so like I know there's no, and the doubt kept coming up for me. And like I told you that one day that I was like, what's the problem? Doubt. What's the problem? Doubt. What's the problem? Doubt. Well, that happened again listening to that last quantum video as I was answering his questions. Like, what is this? Doubt. I'm like, really? I'm like, we're still there. But
Yeah.
I sat with it and I actually like allowed myself to be in that trigger, knowing what the energy was behind that trigger and allowing it to clear. And I'm like, oh, that actually feels really good. So,
Yeah.
you know,
That quote,
um,
that's probably one of my favorites. I hear you. You've kept me safe, but we're choosing differently now. Like, I
yeah,
love that
and
one.
yeah, and I said it, and I learned that one, and I feel you, I hear you, I acknowledge you, and I release you.
Hmm.
So that's like as you get further into the program, you'll actually hear that in my videos as well. And in I have a meditation that I've actually recorded that I um say that a lot in as well. And depending on where you're at, like, because yeah, it's like it's sitting with the emotion, but I like it worded that way better, to be honest. Like, I do actually like that wording
Yeah.
better, but for everything that I've created so far, it's with how I had initially heard it.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And I think as long as you give it the power and set the intention, that it's going to do the same thing. Um, but my dream last night, wow, like wow. Um, super clear, super fluid. So like as much as it shifted in I would almost look at it like I always said I always wanted to be able to like teleport.
Mm,
So there was the fluidity of teleporting. I didn't have to drive from point A to point B. They were all side by side.
mm,
But so the first part of it was like the H2O, which is where we go to the gym and work out, and they have the pool and everything. And we go there every other day. It's where I do my classes. And but it's outside. It's not in the building, but it's designed the exact, it looks identical, but
yeah.
we're outside. And then we're going to meet, so we jump off the diving board. My shoulder hurts in this dream, and I was like, no, it doesn't hurt. That's not real. I'm like, and I dive off the diving board, the high one, like head first in, and I was like, okay, cool, like I finally did it. And then it tried to say that my shoulder was hurting. I'm like, my shoulder doesn't hurt. This isn't real. Like that's like I'm dreaming. My shoulder doesn't hurt here, right? I was like,
Yeah.
it was really interesting. And so then me and Brandon, we go to meet his friend, and it's like this barbecue, but they're doing ribs, and he doesn't like ribs. And I was like, well, I like ribs. I'm like, and it was $80 a person, but his friend was like, oh, you don't have to pay, it's on me. And I was like, no, 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 we're good. We'll pay for one. And then I was like recognizing like resistance to money, and then I was like, I wonder why the resistance to money. So I played with it even in my dream, and I'm like, I don't mind paying for two. I can afford it. And it's like, yeah, but you don't need to because he doesn't like ribs. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Like I can live with that and paid the 80. And now I see it's probably something to do with how I was going to react to the money today. And from there, we end up at his dad's house in Penhold. Now this is where it gets fucking weird. Okay. So we are in his house and he starts going on and on and on about his exes. And like not not in any like normal way, but talking about their sex lives, talking about like things that I just as a girlfriend don't want to know.
Want to hear, yeah.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I
Yeah.
know we all have past, like and I know I'm 40 years old and whatever. But it just wouldn't stop, right? So I
Hmm.
finally get pissed off and I was like, you know what? We don't need to be together. Like if you are that tied up in your past, I'm like, I don't have space for that. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
And I'm crying. It wasn't like I was like, I'm tough chick right now talking about it because I know it was only a
Yeah.
dream. You know what I mean? But there was emotion behind it. Like, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I'm not a cold hard bitch, but whatever. So, so I'm crying and I'm outside. Well, I'm looking at the house across the road. The wall disappears and they're insulating and drywalling it. And I'm like, okay. And I look away and the wall's back and I'm like, "Not- okay. And then the wall's gone again and it's completely finished. Beautiful interior, I must say, and there's people moving in and then the wall is back and I'm like, well, that's really interesting. So I decided to go over across the road and walk across the street to this house and knock on the door. But as I'm doing this minivan pulls up and piles of children, babies, children start running, screaming, and then the gunfire starts and
Mm.
somebody is shooting. all of these kids. I go hightailing it back and I start shoving children into his house. And I'm saving as many kids as I can. And they're just killing them. They're just shooting them. And
Mm.
I'm like, what is going like so I get as many in the house as I can, closing my eyes to knowing that like there are so many I didn't get to save.
Yeah.
But when I open my eyes in the house, there's no kids except for there's two babies, one black and one white.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, they're naked. And I'm like, I have to take care of these babies. And so I pick up the one and he's like, no, put me down. And he's little. I'm talking like not talking little, like I'm talking like
Yeah.
2 months
Like
old
it
baby,
is.
like naked, naked butt.
Wow.
Like that was the thing that stood out to me is like naked butt, you know. And I was like, what? And I put him down and he gets up and he starts walking away from me. I'm like, where are you going? I'm like, you need a diaper. He's like, no, I'm potty trained. And I'm like, how? You're 2 months old. How are we having this
Wow.
conversation? And like the other one, there's like the identical, like they look identical except for literally one's black and one's white. And the other one's just giggling. He's not saying a word, but he's giggling and he's laying there like a baby kicking his feet. And I was like, you can walk too, can't you? And he's like, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Wow.
It's and actually as I was writing down the dream this morning, I didn't remember what the baby had said to me, but that's what it was. He's like, I can do this myself. I'm a big boy. I can do this
Hmm.
myself. And I'm like, but you're not. Like, you're not old enough. What do you mean you can
Yeah.
do this yourself? I'm like, what happened to all the other kids? And I asked B, I was like, how many kids did I save? And he's like, there's no kids. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, I have two babies. Where the hell did I get two babies from if there's no other kids? I'm like, I saved these kids from the gunfire outside. And he's like,
Yeah.
there was no gunfire. I'm like, yes,
Mm.
there was. There was gunfire. There was hundreds of kids coming out of a van and they were shooting them. And he's like, where'd you get these babies? And I was like, I'm telling you where I got the babies. Like, I swear to God, I'm telling you where I got the babies.
Oh
Like, I'm
my
not,
gosh.
right? And I'm not making this up. I'm like, well, I'm not carrying them anymore because they've like stood up and walked away from me, telling me they don't need
Wow.
diapers, just clothes. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go get you some clothes. Like, we'll wrap you up in a towel or whatever we got to do. Like, let's go get you clothes, right? And as I was walking out the door, that's to get them clothes or whatever. That's when I woke up, and I was like, and it's so vivid, like
Hmm.
so vivid. And I'm just like, okay, so I can peg the black and white to yin and yang, or yang and yin, however,
Hmm.
right? Um, Beyond that, I'm like,
Hmm.
no, I don't. I mean, like, yeah, there's a few different things. Like as I'm talking about it, like knowing that I have the like I've showed you pictures of the house that I want to build. Like that's been like, really strong in my mind that like that the first thing I want like some stability, some structure,
Hmm.
having a place, having a space, like the freedom, so it comes with the vehicle. And then like you with your babies and your dreams, of
Hmm.
nurturing that inner child. And then I'm thinking like, and then I'm looking at it as the masculine versus feminine, even though they were both little boys. uh I've always been that one that I can take care of myself ever since I was little. And that I mean even at 2 months old, like I my dad used to be so scared of holding me, and I could like sense that with him. So I would cry every time my dad would hold me because he would be so scared of breaking me that his emotion would just flow through me. And at 6 weeks, I rolled off a table to show him like you can't break me. Like you can't hurt me. But of course, I can't talk and I can't tell them all of this. So here I was just a baby that rolled off a table. Like freaked everybody out, ended up in the hospital.
Hmm.
Didn't go as planned. But,
Yeah.
I learned all of this in a somatic. It's interesting that Yuki has been talking about somatic and stuff like that because I did a lot of somatic breath work with the FTP, the Full Time Purpose group that I first started. That Aaron Dowdy and
Hmm.
they're all YouTube guys. And I met them before I knew even what was going on. Like, so I'd take their class like probably once every 3 months just to absorb their information and do the somatic breath work with them. And yeah, and that's the first thing that I ever really learned was like that connection. And I still haven't had the guts to tell my dad. So dad, if you're watching this, I love you and I'm not crazy, I promise. Okay. Um throw that out there.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I'm like, Not crazy, I promise, Dad. Like you'll see soon one day, like when your bank account is full and you didn't have to do anything and I show, like you did that's like ultimately. Um but yeah, so I mean I've pegged down like a few key points and then like looking at the house, it was literally there being renovated and then whole like that could definitely be just in like my manifesting of my home. Um even though but the fact that like this bus show or this maybe it was a bus but I think it was like a white petty van to be honest, like no windows.
Mhm.
um I don't know. Okay, so actually I can kind of peg where it might have come, like the idea may have came from, but why it was the way and why they started shooting up all these children, like yeah, that still kind of bugs me. I don't really know why I'm shooting or why I had kids shot in my dream and then they just disappear. But there's this funny video where this guy shows up and he's like, "Well, will you donate to save children and stuff like that?" And this lady's like, "Yeah, I got a couple bucks." And he's like, "I got $2, let them out." And they open the van door and the kids come running out. And
Oh
she's
my
like,
gosh, that's
"I'll
funny.
buy them all, I'll buy them."
Yeah.
So I do
Wow.
kind of have an idea of where like that may, because it's been a long time since I've seen that video. But it came up across Brandon's feed the other day. He's one that gets all the comedy. I get a little bit of comedy, a little bit more, a lot of animal comedy these days showing up, like cats and dogs. But yeah, we always watch the funny videos on his because mine went totally like spiritual for like quite some time now. Every
Oh,
message
same.
that I need comes through on TikTok or Facebook, wherever I'm watching. So I'm like, yeah, it hasn't been a lot of comedy. That's why I also know that I'm shifting into that it is done, because I'm no longer like being called to all these messages. Like it's literally I'm actually getting like comedy stuff and like different stuff come up. But but
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, so if you have any feelings that come up for that dream, like, oh my goodness, that was
Something that came up for
interesting.
me, and it was also something that came up actually in my past life hypnosis. Not the same, but um is like it felt real, but then they were like, no, what are you talking about? And so for me, it was that same kind of thing where like I thought I was in war, but like it was just the loop of like, going up to like, the two lines of, and then but it just ended up looping. And then when my subconscious came and it was like, that was just a metaphor for like the fear that I had of, whatever it was. And so for me, it was more of like something that you feel is very real that have a fear of or feel like you need to save, whether it's somebody or this kind of saving thing. But it's all, I mean, really fear is all, constructed in our mind, but like something that you feel is genuinely real, but it's not. You know what I mean?
And I
Whether
mean,
you
in the
feel like
fact
you
that
have
I
to
can't,
save somebody or something, I don't, or maybe it just maybe people in general, I don't know, you know.
right, and they just came through as kids. Like, I mean, there's like, and then there's the part like I can't have children of my own.
Mm-hmm.
So, like maybe I feel like I've killed a generation or something like that just by
Mm-hmm.
not being able to have kids. Um, yeah, because that could be like, yeah, that could definitely that definitely resonates, So yeah, huh. Yeah, it was really shocking.
I bet.
And
Yeah, I
then to
bet.
end up with, I don't know, two talking babies. That one really got me too. But
Interesting. Mine was like, mine was, I don't know, it was like some guy was helping me fold my clothes and put them away, which is random. But I feel like too that there's like parts of like what happened in your waking time that kind of imprint as like little details. Do you know what I mean?
hmm.
Like I woke up, it was like 6 in the morning, and my son came in and was like, "Oh, the bus didn't come," right? This happened while I was awake. And then I went back to bed, and then I dreamed that like somebody was driving a convertible, but they had like somehow the school bus was like on it and they were like speeding through, right? So like something, an imprint from what actually just happened into that. So, but yeah, like helping me fold clothes and then like we are in this apartment or whatever and like somebody was like taking away our fridge with like all the food in it and I was like really upset and I'm like, "Oh my God." And something with June, which is next month. and I was just like really sad, and like Shannon was there, and yeah, it was kind of weird. It wasn't super detailed, but like this is the first time it's ever happened to me. Like I woke up and it's like I saw a flash of something and I was like, "Oh, this is super significant." And then when I woke up fully completely, it was
It was
completely gone.
gone.
But like I remember the feeling of like this is significant, and I for the life of me I cannot I'm not aware of like what it was, and I'm like, "Dang it." Um I mean literally a flash, and I think it's just like being part of like the other dimension of like, because I know that as I'm diving more into that, there's still a part of my ego that's like, come on now, you don't, do you know what I mean? Like the stuff that I listen to, Bashar and like Dolores Cannon, Past Lives and all these things. It's like, I'm sure because this is new to the human part of me, that the ego is probably like, what are you talking about?
Yep.
That, you know what I mean? Like that is not allowing. Is that a crow that literally, you can't make this up. I don't see crows very often. Um, like we have lots of birds around here, but not, and I swear it like literally just flew. And they're like one of my favorite birds. I love crows so much.
We
Um,
have a lot by our place, but yeah, they sometimes I feel like they just come in and talk.
love them. But yeah, so I feel like that the part why it's not like coming to me, I think is because there's still a part of me that's like not um how do I say it? Like still not wanting to believe, you know what I mean, the
Yeah.
things that I hear and stuff. Um, I also wonder too how it works in terms of, because if everything's energy, right, and everybody has an energy, if you're sleeping next to somebody, you know, and you're drink, I don't know, like that's just kind of what I was thinking. Because my son, like last night, he was like, I was like, hey, buddy, like want to go on another adventure tonight? And he's like, I don't ever want to dream. And I was like, what? And he was like, it's just too scary. And I was like, oh, I was like, buddy, I was like, just remember, like, no matter what happens, I was like, you're always safe. Like, nobody can, you know what I mean? This and that. And so I'm almost like, and he moves around a lot in his sleep. Like, there's sometimes he'll be sideways, he'll be upside down, like all kinds of different ways moving. And so I often wonder if like there's any way that like we can permeate each other's, do you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
I
Like
don't know.
me and you setting our intentions
Yeah,
to
yeah,
find each other. It's
yep.
similar and it's easier with family because like I said, that level of permission is a little bit different because as a healer, as long as you're going in to do great things and good things and to do like that, that permission can be bypassed because of like that set intention of helping somebody heal and grow. And the younger they are, the more open that they are, which is why he's experiencing us so much. And a lot of it is going to be kind of in his sleep, because I know that's where a lot of things happen for me as well.
Yep.
And we are using our dream time and our sleep time, like our human stuff is still happening. So despite, us being able to travel, despite the recognizing that there's a lot of messages being given in that, they are still using our experiences through each day. They are still using the time that we are spending creating our memories, because if we don't sleep, our memories start to get really befuddled because we're not actually creating our short-term or long-term memories if we don't sleep. Like that's a process that takes place only when we do sleep. That's how we get through and start to sort through everything that's happened in our day. Those are all processes that still take place. Like we don't, no matter how much we rewrite, no matter how much programming we take out, our brain still works in the natural ways, which is why staying in alignment, which is why continuing to be in
Yep.
the right frequency. It's interesting because like I took a manifestation course, and the only thing that she said that because like Chris Duncan's like, well, once you start it, you can't go back. And I'm like, if we're creating, there's got to be, yeah, like it might be hard to go back because you don't want to go back because there's probably still that there could be that jump in level of fear of, if I stop this, am I going to be able to start creating again?
Hmm.
Whereas with the lady with the manifestations, like you can slow it down and stop at any time because step out of that level of belief. If you don't want it to happen, it's not going to happen. Like it's literally
Yeah,
like being able to
exactly.
shift between knowing, believing, and saying too much too fast, and slowing it down. So, those processes. So yeah, so definitely like even as we're getting messages, yeah, I guarantee it's easier for them to take what our brain is doing and just add to that versus putting completely, new information into stuff that we haven't experienced and stuff like that. So, it's easier to create the messages within what our brain is already doing versus, yeah, just like because like I feel like when they say, well, we're teaching you and stuff like that, and it's slowly going to come to you over time as you're ready. If they were like just giving me the messages in my dreams, then it wouldn't be something that I like wake up just ultimately knowing. Whereas
Hmm.
a lot of this, like with this quantum stuff, I feel like I've just woken up and even though, yes, it's there for me to watch and stuff like that, like he said, oh, that was what he said the other day. It's like if you're watching this and you feel like you know this, you are remembering, you are not learning.
Mm,
And
yeah.
and that resonated because I was like, I know this. Like me and Chat GPT had this like conversation like not too long ago. This is stuff that I've
Hmm.
been journaling about now for a while without having extra input um beforehand, but there's still that level of like your brain and your ego saying, well, you can't just know this,
Yeah.
or exterior doubts. Brandon, like you can't just know that. Like there's been a few arguments that he's had with me, and I'm like, I'll just tell him, and he's like, that's not right. This is what it said online, and I'm like, I know I'm right. I don't know why I know
Hmm.
I'm right, but
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
hadn't Googled it, because I hadn't actually like taken in the information, I let it go, and then I went and Googled, and I'm like, I was right. Like, quit just always needing to be right. I'm like, it's okay, like I don't need to be right, but I mean, if I'm telling you something and I know I'm right, like there's, there's that balance. Like, how much is right being worth? How like because sometimes the other person isn't ready for that information yet, and sometimes it's like, well, do you want
Yeah.
to live in the peace, but then there's that balance again of not of knowing your worth, not allowing your not taking an ego hit from it, or like or an energy hit even from it. I wouldn't even call it an ego hit anymore because my yeah, like ego is pretty quiet. Like it literally goes into protection mode still. Like it's like there's still a fear instantly when there's a bear in front of me when I walk out my door. So I mean, like the ego still has
Mhm.
its role. He's still there doing his
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
um but it's like it's more like an energy shift. What are you? Sorry, a bird just flew up, and I wish I would have been able to like react. My brain and my body didn't react. I don't know if you can see it.
Where is it at?
Um, it just he's just flying up right there. His window is so fucking dirty. Hold on, let's see. And yes, I'm spiritual and swear.
I mean,
So
even the term, it's a quote bad word. I mean, that was imprinted in somebody's head years ago, and then they just
yeah, exactly. So yeah, so I missed him. He just left. But yeah, he literally like came up. It was like the deer. He came up and
wow.
he like floated and he was just sitting there staring at me and I'm like, I don't know what you are, but you are cute. And
Oh,
I
you
don't
don't
know
know what
if
it is?
that
Because I just
I'm not
looked up that website I showed you,
yeah.
Spirit Animal. I looked up the crow, and it says shamans and light workers tell us that crows are masters of shape shifting. This is not simply physical, however, it's energetic. Crow teaches you how to mold your aura, your power, into the shape that supports manifestation.
Oh, okay, that
Try
and
this.
that sits with me. That like that I've been surrounded by crows for a while now.
Yeah, it says they rank among the most popular totem animals throughout shamanic traditions. One of the important messages of crow as an animal spirit guide is not to fear change, which I was literally, and then another important element to crow is its voice. The bird uses its voice to warn other members of its tribe, even those far away. In this sense, crow gives your spirit the gift of watchfulness, both physical and psychic, and the ability to protect those you love as a result. Um,
That's awesome.
wow, and I mean, it continues to go on, but that's wild because I was actually just talking to Rustin this morning about, because I was like, our move. I was like, to be honest, I was like, it does come up as fear because like where we live, like we lived here for 3 years, so we know it, right? Like what Yuki was talking about last night, we don't like it, but it's comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I think that would be, and it would be change, right? Because we don't know the neighborhood or the neighbors or the area or the grocery store, like whatever, right? And so I'm like, I hadn't really thought about it like that, but because when we moved here, I was not of any awareness. So, and so he goes, so then when we moved here, we didn't care. And I was like, well, I guess. And he's like, well, let's just go with that, like attitude of like, because it ended up working out.
Yeah.
And, but anyways, yeah, it was interesting. We were just talking about that. I was like, there is that level of, kind of fear of the unknown there. But, yeah, that's wild.
Like, and I mean, I've moved around so much my whole life, and
Oh, yes.
I think the move from Alberta to BC was definitely my farthest move, and probably one of the harder ones to go like that far away from my family. But I was struggling so much with my pain and a whole lot of other things that I was like, I needed to get out of the environment that I was in for one. For two, it was like the pain had just gotten so bad that like I was just existing, already. It was already super hard for me, and I didn't feel like I was doing anything, and I didn't feel like I had a future or anything like that. No, no, I'm just using your car as a vessel. Using your car as the vessel it is.
Right.
Uh, so like to move around, like, and it's been interesting because not what? Yeah, a key, this key, yeah. Um, so so like to move now, it's like, yeah, I have like some obligations at the Y and whatever with my fitness classes and stuff like that. So some of the places that we had been considering, it's going to take some time before we are doing that. But then with like everything shifting and changing and growing and doing its thing, it's like I like it's becoming easier and easier just to let go of that control. And that was actually something that I was really working on after listening to that video last night. Was like I was like, what is coming up for me in, because he talked about like control and then doubt. And I was like, oh. I'm like very, as much as I'm like go with the flow. Oh, it's starting to rain. I gotta figure. Sorry,
I was like, yeah, get the roof up.
his sunroof is open. I'm like, I'm like,
Rustin ran out to the car the other day because he had put the roof down to go get our son. So he ran out in the middle of like the storm to roll it up, and then I think he left the car on because we woke up the next morning and our battery was dead. He's like, I just wanted the roof up so it wasn't pouring down in the
why
inside
isn't
of
it
the car.
working? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, is it broken? It's not broken. It's closed. How do I close your sunroof? Real life story, folks. Real life story.
Right? Oh my gosh, you can't
No,
even make this up.
I don't know where they went. How do I do up a sunroof? I just tried to make it work and it wouldn't work. I was like, oh no, it's like it's starting to rain really good right now. Sunroof. Yes, yes, I bet you did. Well, I just don't know apparently how to do it. What? I know, I was pushing that and it wasn't doing anything though. It was just flashing at me. Yeah, no problem. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, that's so funny. So where were we?
Dreams and then the crow. I don't know, whenever I see a bird, I'm like, well, I don't want to say whenever I see a bird because I see a bird every day and a lot of them are similar. But when I see one, sometimes I'm like, I should look that up. not should, but like something in me is saying like look it up, and then it definitely resonates for, and the crow definitely did for sure. For sure, for
Well,
sure. And then
yeah,
the shape
especially if it's
shifting,
something
because you
that
were
you don't
talking about that
see.
in your dream, and then I was even talking about, can we commingle with 2 o'clock.
Oh,
Nope. Only two, buddy. Um, but yeah, like shape shifting and stuff like that. Um, yeah, really interesting.
Very, very, and yeah, like, and actually, and you saying that, like, looking at my dream, it actually like resonates within the dream as well. We actually haven't, we always have, we have a group of three crows that like really hang out around our house. I kept saying that I'm pretty sure our cat made like a deal with the devil with them because to kill stuff for them and give them things because
Yeah.
it'd be like 4 o'clock in the morning and they'd be just squawking and I'm like, nope, not now. She's not coming out to play. And then
Mm,
they would go away and they'd come back a couple hours later and I'm like, I'm really sure our cat is friends with these crows.
oh, that's so cool. That's so fun. Well,
Oh,
here, I can send you the link to the one that it says. It's pretty, and I like too that it um separates it by like like shamanic tradition or like Celtic or Christian or Chinese or wisdom or whatever, depending on like what you kind of resonate with. So I really like that. And then also difference between like if that's like your power animal, if that's a spirit guide, if whatever. Um, but yeah, it's pretty spot on with everything so far um that I've used it for. And I like too that it has birds, it has insects, if you amphibians, um
oh, crazy.
yeah, so there's a lot. It's not just like bird, dog, cat, whatever. It's really
Hmm.
broken up into, I mean, they have an animal dream dictionary, um spirit animal by birthday,
Oh,
fantasy
okay.
mythical creatures. I mean, like I got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I'd love to look at that.
Yeah. But anyways, man, I feel like there's something else I want to talk to you about. And now it's like it's not coming to me. Oh, I did start writing down. I literally had a little tablet after the call on not last night. It must have been Sunday. And I was like, I'm writing this stuff down. When I said the we're all crazy here. And I was like, I'm
Yeah,
I'm not kidding. I am gonna write this.
we're gonna write, yeah, we need a book of this. We need to scroll through the chat and find all the times like you can't make this shit up.
Oh my gosh. Literally, yeah, no.
I totally agree. Like that's so funny. Like last night,
there's
so you guys weren't at the second call. Um,
Oh, last night, yeah.
Tom, yeah, so Tom was having a little bit more of a human moment too. And
Mm,
it was interesting because Yuki's hair was standing up on end. Like his back, he had like this little like tail. And I've never ever
yeah,
seen him with like one of those, he's having a
yeah,
bad hair day. I've never seen Yuki
yeah,
with a bad hair day before. I was giggling about it, but I didn't say anything in the chat or anything like
yeah,
that. So Tom like doing his thing and he's like, so then it was more about sales and stuff like that.
yeah.
And he like missed out. He thought he was closing a deal and then it kind of backfired on him. And he goes, people can be like thrown off by the littlest things. He's like, say Yuki's hair standing up at the back really weirdly right now, and because of that, somebody doesn't join the club just called or doesn't join his program just because of his hair standing up. And I had to unmute because I was like, I was laughing so hard because in my head I was like, oh, his hair's kind of messed up today. I was like, I've never seen that before. And then Tom calls him right out. So
Wow,
unmuted. I was like, way to call him out on his hair, Tom.
wow.
You could tell like I could tell that he was feeling self-conscious about it because it was the first time I'd ever seen Yuki do this with his hair, like the whole call.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I have sometimes, but I think it's the way that his hair, you know what I mean? Like how my hair is parted, I kind of just go like this.
Oh, okay, I'll tell you. I swear, I promise I'll tell you when we can go get our car. Anyway, sorry, go on.
No, you're good. I was just saying I've seen him a couple times, just kind of, he'll kind of go like this, just but not in a self-conscious way. He likes to have it like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
any other
And
way
he'll
that's
notice that it falls down. He'll notice that it falls down and he'll put it
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that too. But this
Wow.
one was he was very like he turned and he had like the rooster tail and he was still wasn't like really messing around with the back too much. It was still more with the front, but you could almost tell it was a little bit more self-conscious that like, okay, well maybe if I'm, doing this, they won't see back here or whatever.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, it was
Wow.
pretty adorable actually. So if he records those calls, you can go watch. You'll laugh really hard because yeah, I giggled like the whole call.
I'll have to. Was it towards the end or
Yeah, yeah, it was like right just before we got off the call, so probably within the last 5 to 10 minutes ish. Yeah, it was
wow.
too good. Yeah, yeah, it was definitely near the end. Yeah, the only thing I said in that whole call because they were it was good conversation and good sales stuff. Like
Yeah.
I didn't feel the need to interject, and I was just kind of taking in the information. I didn't have anything really new to add from the other shares that I had, so yeah, I was just there to listen, and but yeah, it was just too funny because I'd been giggling the whole time about Yuki's hair, and then all of a sudden Tom like called him right out on it, and I was like, "Way to
Wow.
go, Tom!" Calling him out on his hair.
That is
Yuki's
too
like, "Yeah,
funny.
I caught a bad hair day."
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty adorable, but
That is
yeah,
fun.
I was just trying to think. I was like, I have so much to tell you, and then I was like, I think I've gone through most of it. But yeah, it was the dream last night was the biggest one, because like that was for one the just the flow of the dream was different. And
Mm,
then, like, of course, what went on in the dream was absolutely like it kind of dumbfounded me for like I have like little notes underneath it because of course I
mhm.
decipher and write out what comes to me as I write out the dream. But the only thing that came for me like fluently for like the messages was like the yin and yang. But
Mm,
I'm like, why would I have all these kids shot in my dream and then them be just not anywhere? And all I get stuck with is these two babies that aren't actually babies because if they were babies, they wouldn't be able to talk to me and not
right.
want diapers and stuff. Like, we don't need diapers, just clothes. And I'm like, what do you mean you're not tall enough to get on the toilet? Like,
Mm,
like, well, you're
yeah.
still gonna have to help with that part, but we're gonna tell you when we gotta go. And I'm
Yep.
like, okay. I'm like, okay, well, I can live with that, I think. So,
And maybe it's you, or maybe it's like, maybe it represents like somebody or somebody's, like, plural, more than one, that you feel that you have to take care of in some manner, but like they're telling you, like, hey, I'm fine. Like, you know?
my parents, I would say that goes back to my parents because that's been coming up a lot too, and that's where I've been letting a lot of control, the releasing of control and the releasing of like the attachment to the outcome,
Mm,
uh and stuff like that, like I and like truly letting go because like you said it doesn't come in like the visualization like that's all powerful, but it comes in the letting go.
yep.
It comes in the knowing that it is done.
Yep.
and and like we're saying, you say, so it is or it is done, like, but is there intention behind that it is done? Is there belief and knowing behind that it is done? Or is it just,
Hmm.
or is that the part where it's fake it till you make it until it actually becomes you believe it? Because at this point, like, again, even in having this conversation with you, like the energy for me feels I'm where I am after I got done at yoga that day because this is the first like that's the first like fluid time that I felt in this energy. Like it's come in flashes, like where I was like, Yuki, what is this warm feeling? Um, and stuff like that. Like it's come in flashes, but I've been able to maintain it. Like it was kind of again, I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, I don't feel like I'm in that energy again.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then I talked to Lynn and it came flooding back. Um, and then talking to you again, it's like because again doing the money thing, doing the human thing, I was like it was fading, it was like it was flickering, it
Yeah.
felt like it was
Hmm.
flickering, like it wasn't gone, but it was doing the thing. And he's
Yeah.
like, it's just about being and staying in it. And I'm like, well, how do you know you're in it? And I'm like, I can feel it. And then he was talking, and then he also mentioned something about the the tension in the chest. And he's like, that's control and attachment to outcome. And I was like, oh, is that what that is now? I'm like, oh, that actually resonates. And I start clearing
Yeah.
that. And I was like, oh. And then I was right back into this energy again. I was like, okay. I'm like, I like this. I like this energy. I'm like, I feel comfortable here. it's still new, like it still feels like really different, but I'm like, I kind of like it here. I'm like, okay, I'm like, I can handle this. Like,
Mhm.
knowing that there's an actual sensation behind it.
Mhm.
It's again, like you say, setting the intention versus saying intention. Um, and and that kind of thing. Like those are like the little tweaks that come. But you can't make those in the beginning because there's no forcing your brain to believe, even in rewriting and reprogramming or shedding the programming. I don't even like to call it rewriting the programming, it's shedding the programming and taking you to a place where you can start to embody and remember. You're still, there's still a process to that. There still has to be like, it's cellular memory is there. It's just like a habit. A smoker can quit smoking and 6 years later pick up a cigarette and be right back where they started.
Yeah.
Like that, and that's that instant trigger. So if that's the case, like even if we're shedding that programming, there still has to be, you could have to shed that programming multiple times before you actually stay in the belief that, okay, I don't have to relive this cycle. A trigger can help reform that cycle of events and that karmic tie and that energy cord with somebody else from a word being said and something that didn't get dealt with in that process of clearing. Uh, and so like it's very easy to get, tied back into that moment. So having the knowledge of the quantum work, which I started with because of where I started, staying in the energy that I feel today would have it was impossible, because if it wasn't impossible, there wouldn't have been that struggle into getting to where I am, feeling like confident that it is truly done.
Yeah.
And and then he says it's like you're remembering, and you got to stay in that remembrance, and then it's staying in that vibration. It's not staying in a feeling, it's not staying in the visualization, it's staying in the knowing, it's staying in the belief, and not constantly questioning, not reverting back into that cycle, because I know that's what I've been doing. It's like, I know it is done, but
Yeah.
where is it? And he's like, don't go back into where is it, stay in it is done, and then stay in that vibration. Let go of what it looks like, let go of the attachment to the outcome, and truly sit in the trust of knowing that it is done. Like, don't stop doing everything. Like, staying in that vibration is the work that you have to do,
Yeah.
however that looks for you, whether it's that inspired action that has to take place daily, because there's still easing up those human beliefs, those human things. Those human traits are still there. So if staying in that vibration means you get to post every day, or you get
Yeah.
to talk to somebody every day, then just take whatever it looks like. But he's like, but do it as the person that already has it. Have the conversation as though you're the person that already has it. And that really like sat with me, because I'm like, okay, what can I do today to be the person that already has it? I just dropped a bunch of money on my car. So, like
Mhm.
I just
Exactly.
made a big investment. So it is done, and then to be able to still feel in that energy is like, for me, really huge. So
Yeah.
like
Well,
but you can't start there. You can start there, but then it's going to feel like an uphill battle. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like it's not working. And then you get
mhm.
flustered and you end up right back into the 3D living.
Yeah. 100%.
And
Because we
then
did that completely the back ways. We quit our jobs and then we were like, we're just gonna manifest harder, and all that. Exactly what he talked about in the video. Like all of that. I was like chuckling because I'm like, oh my God, that was us last year. And now I'm like, and we did all the visuals and the thing, the thing, and the thing. And now, yeah, it's like it's in each moment. Literally. Like I was doing it like while I was like half asleep because there was like a storm last night and it was you could hear like a boom of like thunder and stuff. And it was mostly because my cats were outside. That's what it was, to be honest. But anyways, and I would literally like wake myself up like in the fear, and I felt it, and then I would literally like take a deep breath, and like in that moment I would keep saying that same thing because each time that's how you collapse all those timelines. So and I felt exactly like you. I woke up, well, I text you or message you, and I was like, oh, because I've been watching those videos since like last week, and I was in that energy, and then I was like, resistance. What do you mean? And because I just wasn't having any. Like I was literally on like cloud nine. Like I was just waking up every day and I'm excited and it's done and da da. And then I woke up one morning and I was like, hmm, what is this? And it wasn't so much resistance as it was more of just like blah. Like it was just
Yeah.
nothingness. I don't know how to explain it, right? And then he mentioned it like
Neutrality.
in that stillness. He's like, the stillness is where you have to like and not do it harder, not like, oh, I gotta scramble, but it's continue with the what you're doing. And then I woke up again today and I was like, I feel bored, but not like bored as in this moment, I can't find anything to do, like bored with like life. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I was kind of
Hmm.
talking to Rustin about it a little bit. And then I was like, again, here's more of that stillness of like that, that we're talking about instead of searching for like, where is it, that kind of thing, just continue on with your same path. And I was like, all right. But earlier, like I felt actually before this, it had nothing to do with this call, but like before that, I was like, I have this like anxiousness because fear and excitement can be intermingled in energy,
A hundred
and
percent. Yep.
but I was like, it wasn't anxiousness like, oh, I'm scared or like, oh, I'm nervous. It was like, I don't even know how to explain it really. It's just it's like like I don't know, like I don't, and it's not even in my chest, it's in my stomach.
Okay,
And
that's interesting. Mine's
and
been hitting me still in my chest, and I used to suffer
yeah.
from like panic attacks and like high anxiety, and I haven't
Mm,
had any of that since it was probably a year and a half now. I'll call it a year
mm-hmm,
and a half that I've had any of that, and
mm,
I was it was hitting my chest. But again, me and my heart have been having like a lot of conversations. I've been working a lot with my solar plexus. So I would say yours came in at your navel, at your sacral
mm-hmm,
chakra
mm-hmm,
is where and that's the energy center. And that's where I always mention like taking you back to that grounding. And that's where I've been actually like even as I've been taking on the breathing, reestablishing a new ground, releasing any grounding cords that you have, establishing a new one, doing it. I mean, and I've even brought up like doing it from all the different chakras, but from the root chakra is a really good place to release the emotional centers because they're all
mm-hmm.
in our emotional centers are all down in this area, right? So heart included. So it's just a closer than your feet, kind of good halfway point, a good place to like start flowing the energy. But yeah,
Yeah.
and just really working from there. But yeah, it's interesting that it would come in through your stomach.
Yeah, and I had to because as you were talking about it, I was like, wait a minute, because I'm like becoming way more aware of like my body and everything lately. And so then I was like, hold on, and I felt it, and I was like, that's not even in my chest. I'm like, that's really weird. Well, it's just interesting, right? But yeah, I always get the sacral and the solar plexus mixed up. Like all the other ones I know, but I'm like, oh, hi Charlie, hi baby. But for some reason those two I always get mixed up. I have I showed Shannon, I sent it to Shannon actually, but it was a um I don't she didn't do it on the last Tuesday, but when she hosted her like little workshops on Sundays, she would do the Ram Lam Vam whatever like to each chakra, which was really cool. So you chant and I have one where it actually says each one like for the chakra. I'll have to look up and find it. Which one's for the you said sacral? Yeah, that's okay.
Yep.
I'll have to look it up and see because she was saying too that you can just literally go over that when it's like whichever one it is. I don't know which one it is, but if it's like Ram, you just literally just like Ram, right? Like continually
Yep.
as you focus on that area. So
There's
yeah,
yeah,
but I
there's
don't
a
know
few
what that
different
is.
ones. There's a few. Yeah, that's really interesting. Again, it's to me it feels like just a sign that you're like shifting just shifting that like because I mean if experiencing anxiety is normally in the chest, to experience it in your
Mhm.
stomach would just suggest to me that you're shifting and being able to recognize that you're shifting where that energy is coming from, and it kind of gives you a lot easier of a way to release it. um
My stomach has been kind of like the past 2 nights, 2 days. My stomach's just been kind of like, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Even like earlier, I was sitting next to Rustin. He's like, "Is that your stomach?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Like it doesn't hurt. I mean,
no, it
except
just
for
makes so
what I,
much weird noises. They're like
yeah, I mean, like it doesn't normally. I mean, at least mine doesn't. But it was the past 2 days, just like gurgle, I'm like,
I've had some really interesting days. You know what, and it's interesting that you talk about it because I never really, I've been kind of giggling because I always say to Brendan, like our stomachs like talk because mine will make a noise and then his will make a noise and mine will make a louder noise, but his will make a louder noise. And it's
hmm,
like they're chatting. And I'm just like, I feel like our chakras are talking. Like I don't even know what else to say about it.
hey,
And my
yeah,
stomach does like gurgle quite, quite a bit because like I've had some intestinal issues and stuff like that. Like they had to move my intestines and twist them and then the doctor thought
okay.
he punctured them and all of that fun stuff, right? So, like, I've had a lot of interesting things happen to my intestines in the last 10 years. And so, like, it can get noisy down there, but never as noisy as, like, since I've been with him. Like, they literally talk, and I'm like, this is
Yeah.
so weird.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so it definitely, I never really thought to look at it on, like, as, like, from the spiritual side of things. Like, I felt like it was like it had its own personality there for a little bit, but I'm like it's really interesting and what can it be saying like that kind of stuff. So yeah, that kind of gave me like a weird sensation right now. but, but yeah, ground like I know that grounding and oh that's what I was past grounding vibration in your different I was watching this one doctor that has come up on my Facebook now, the one he talks about like how to release the pain. I've sent like different ways where you like can put pressure on where the pain is and then talk to your body and like when you put your hands over something and the pain fades. It's like I'm okay with this.
Mm,
We are safe. Um and like and it, yeah, it's like a process. It's basically you have your hands over the sore spot, make sure the pain is gone. It's like body, I am okay with this. We are safe. And then when you pull your hands away, the pain will be gone. And like I've seen them do it to multiple people online and in person. Very, very similar practice to what I do with like the body scans and stuff like that.
mm,
But he was talking about they get on video and he's like the fish started to swim towards him. And all he was doing was spinning his chakras. And to spin the chakras, again, it can be all intentional. And yes, however intention works for you or however like it feels most powerful you is the practice to pick because that's generally like the way to set your intention on what you're actually doing and giving the reason part of your mind that needs reason behind things happening it
yeah.
it makes it believable to your ego, right? So in giving it different practices that makes it more believable for that. And it's just like a witch needing stuff to do a spell. It's literally all intention, but the power behind the the things is just literally ingrained in their mind. Well, you need this to make it work. But the reality is it's because it now powerfully is set your intention and you feel like you take an action to create whatever you wanted to create with that spell. And he was spinning his chakras and all he was doing was similar to Shannon. It was um, but he pictured the color for the chakra and then he breathed it in and hummed it out. And then went to the next chakra, thought of the color, pictured the color, breathed in the color, hummed out and circled the chakra. And he said in doing that and by the water, the fish actually like swam to the edge of the water and were following him as he was pacing, walking, doing the clearing of his chakras. And I was like, that's freaking cool.
Wow. Wow.
Like
That is
I want
so
to do that in the lake and see how that works. So
wow. That is really cool.
hmm
It actually reminds me of the movie Evan Almighty. Have you seen it with Steve Carell? And
I
because
love that movie.
he's God, right? And he's in the office and all the fish are like and he's like trying to, so the guy doesn't notice. But they were like just which obviously it's a comedy and they don't, but essentially it was his energy, right? Because he was a spiritual being now, right? That they were attracted to him. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Well, in that movie, I love that one and Bruce Almighty, two of my freaking
Yep.
favorite movies of
Well,
all time.
I absolutely love Jim Carrey. Like, and I had no idea. Like, I used to like Jim Carrey way back from The Mask in the 90s. Like, I just thought he was hilarious as shit. But
Mm-hmm.
now, but, and even some movies I didn't find super funny. Like, The Mask was okay, right? Like, it was funny or whatever. I didn't like The Truman Show. Like, I didn't like, there were other ones. The Cable Guy I wasn't a huge fan of, right? But, like,
I
Now,
didn't like the cable guy. I liked the Truman Show, but I didn't like the cable guy. I still don't
yeah.
like the cable guy, but
But like looking back and then now and like now how he's in the spirituality, and I'm like, now I know why I resonated with him, even though I didn't like some of his movies. Do you know what I mean?
yep. Yeah,
And
attracted to that energy, right?
yeah, because then other people that are like, maybe super famous or whatever, I'm like, nah, I don't really, Denzel Washington, another one. I have always been drawn to all of his movies, even though a lot of them have been, like action and violence and like whatever, but like he's also not as far into the spirituality as like Jim Carrey, but he's still like kind of in that, like very positivity and like stuff like that. And I was
Yeah.
like, there we go, right? So it makes sense.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like me with Tom McDonald. And I've actually like in my childhood met him. He grew up around where I lived.
What
And
is that?
a lot of his
I don't even know if I know who that is.
oh, really? Check him out. He's got some really good songs. He's very
Um,
controversial, I guess, a little bit, but he's
oh,
Canadian. He's
yes,
got
yes, yes.
dual
Okay,
citizen,
the
he's dual
rapper. Yeah,
citizen.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the rapper. But it's in one of his songs. I was like, I knew we were like, he's like, because he said something that I always say, and I was like, oh, I'm like, if they're like, and it's all about the synchronicities, right? And it's like, you can call me what you want, just don't call me late for dinner.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember
And
I used
Brandon,
to listen to him.
yeah, Brandon's like, what is that? And I was like, it's like you can call me a liar, but just don't, you can call me anything you want. Just don't call me late for dinner because that would be a lie because I'm never late for dinner.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, made me laugh because I'm like, nobody says that. And I'm like, here he has it in a song. And I was like, oh my God, you can't even say that we're not connected. So in some way, like, oh my goodness, like just crazy. There's been a few songs that he's put out. Like the first song that I really liked of his was Ghost, and of course that's not anything to do with any of the political stuff or anything that he puts out. But then he's like, but he talks about like how people are woke but not awake
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So it's yeah, he's got some really good ones. There's a few that are but as with any singer and stuff like that. But I love his girlfriend Nova too, and I do believe I've met both of them in the past. And they both lived really close to me, so. But anyways, I'm gonna have to actually have to hop off of here so I can kind of give myself a space. And my talking about stomach making noises. It's like I'm hungry. Can you shove something in me before we go to the next call? And I'm like, yes, I could probably do that. So,
Yeah, of course. I
so
know. I'm hungry too.
yeah, yeah. I guess yeah. It's getting late afternoon there.
Well, I
But
guess
yeah,
have it. Let me see if we have. Yeah, I think I just scheduled it for
Tuesday
every
at ten
Tuesday.
thirty.
Oh,
Oh, but
um,
we have Shannon's thing next on every other Tuesday. So
that's what I was thinking. I can either do it after or we could do it before.
yeah, yeah, I'm good with either. Let's do it before. Because after I generally go to the gym, so yeah, let's do it
Okay.
before. Yeah, because I'm
Well, I'll
more,
just say 12, well, my time, but
yeah,
so 10 your time.
sure. Yeah, that gives us an
And you
hour and then
know,
we'll hop on to hers. That's perfect. I like that.
okay, cool. And then the rest of them I'll
Okay.
just keep. Yay. Oh, something I didn't know if you know this, but in the Google Calendar, you can actually add the moon phases. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah, I was
No, I
messing
did
around with
not.
settings and I was like, oh, cool. But today is like, it said like last quarter or something. Was that today? Let me see. I think it said,
Because I
yeah.
know we just had that full moon cycle because the full moon cycle was like that's where like Rustin had his human thing, I had my human thing. I had lots of friends in the human like just the human experience was being a bitch at this last like full moon cycle. I
Yep.
used to have a cat that would howl through every full moon cycle, so I always believed in the energy of the full moon, but this was like the first time where I even had felt like my energy was knocked off. And I don't normally feel like super affected by the cycles. I always am stayed very grounded. I do my best. I don't just try. I do my best and really work with the energy in any positive way that I can. So even if it is like, wreaking havoc on other people, I'm like, oh no,
Hmm.
I'm riding the wave, right? Where I ended up making full human experience for part of that last full moon cycle. So yeah, so we should be halfway to the new moon.
Hmm.
I think.
Yeah, I don't know where it is. I was trying to look in the settings where I could find it,
Uh,
but I think it said like last quarter or something. I don't know what any of it means, but I just felt like it should be on my calendar.
I love the moon. I even pay for a subscription for an app called MoonX. So no, I totally get it. I love it.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, have a good call. Is it your interview?
Thank you. No, this one is a podcast. It is kind of
Oh,
like an
neat.
interview. It's just like a back and forth podcast with another spiritual lady and stuff like that.
That's so
Uh,
fun. Is
it'll
she
be
gonna post
on.
it or are you gonna post it or?
She's hosting it and posting it. I will get all the information like with her channel and stuff like that, and make sure that it's all shared. I still haven't found my other podcast with that guy, and I've reached out to him a few times and haven't heard anything back from
Oh my
him. So
gosh.
like, yeah, I'm like, I'll figure it out. I'll Google him and I'll find him and I'll do it myself. But it's just
Cool.
funny.
Yeah, I'd love to watch it later, whenever it's available.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm not sure. Like he might be behind in posting too. Like I don't know how far in advance he actually records, and stuff like that, and whatever. Like he was supposed to book a follow-up call with me, and I had sent him the link, and I still haven't heard from him. So yeah, and actually I've kind of like gone back and forth about like reaching out to him again, and then get sidetracked. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna be looking more into that one as well. So, but yeah, I'll definitely find out where this one's all going to be posted. I do believe I have all the information, and I'll find out when, and then I'll send it all out. So,
Yeah, sounds good. All right, we'll chat soon.
okay, bye.
Bye.